Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, with a new lecture. And the title of the lecture, as you can see here, is Impact of Culture on Translation, and with the advanced reading of the relevant article. But my lecture would not be confined to this article. Rather, I'm going to give some examples taken from other sources. So let's start. We shall start with the reminder of culture and then translation. Uh, just remind our mind, refresh our minds about the concept of culture in a different way, of course, and a translation. And then we shall discuss the types of cultural aspects in translation that can come in the way of translating and translators. And last, we shall take examples of cultural impact on translating in this lecture. But this topic is going to be continued, and I think the next lecture or maybe next two lectures. So let's start. Uh, as I said, let's understand simple and basic things first in the shape of reminder. Culture as a human activity, we can see the culture from different aspects. In a separate lecture, we have discussed culture through its characteristics, but but pardon, but here we are going to discuss culture from three different brief aspects of the personal. As individual, we think and we function in a circle. Then collective, we think and function in a social context, at home, in university, in the school, in the society, in the market, in the industry, in the business sector, and so on. Expressive is individuals and society, both they express. So culture is as a human activity, uh, spread in all aspects of individual and social context. And translation is transposition of thoughts expressed in one language by one social group. Now the focus is on the social group because we want to refresh our mind about the culture, and of course keeping the culture in the context of translation, social group into the appropriate expression of another social group. The process of cultural encoding, decoding, and recoding. Encoding means the meanings that have been encoded in the words and phrases of the source language. Encoding the meanings, the shades of meanings, the cultural aspects that have been encoded in the words, phrase, and sentences of the source language. Decoding takes place when we understand this for the sake of translation, and here the decoding takes place. The translator, of course, starts with the understanding of the source text, and then recoding when the translator uh, transfer this source text content into the target language, target text content. These three terminologies are borrowed from the linguistics. They are used for this encoding, decoding, and recoding. Not in the linguistic, rather in communication sciences as well. These terminologies are excessively used. Uh, the globalization, has played its role. Cultures are increasingly brought into greater contact with one another, and the cultural aspect translation is not just dealing with words, phrases, and sentences expressed in a certain time, space, and socio-political situations. It is more than that. With this, we can move on to the next uh, item in this lecture: types of cultural aspects in translation. You can see here the list. In this list, five types of cultural aspects in translation have been mentioned. But that doesn't mean this list is exhaustive or this list is final or comprehensive. We can prepare our own list. Anyways, uh, when during the discussion, I shall indicate to the different categorization of types of cultural aspects in translation. Geographical culture is always there, expressed in the words. Religious culture is there. Social culture, material culture, and linguistic culture. With the help of these five basic categories of culture or types of culture, we can easily understand the types of hurdles or problems faced by translator while translating such kinds of culturally laden words and phrases in the source language. Anyways, what is geographical culture is the climate of a certain geography region and the plants that are available, animals and hills, winds, plains, etc. We know that the Arabic speaking regions are mostly, dominated by, they are hot and dry, dominated by hot and dry climate. Whereas the Western Europe, or the culture that has emerged in the Europe in general, is dominated by cold and wet climate. And this affects the, of course, the emergence of words, vocabulary, and also the language. Different geographical terms acquire different shades of meaning in different cultures. We shall take some examples in this regard. But here I would just mention one thing. The if we take the Arabic is, of course, is because it is dominated by hot and dry climate. So the words that are used for the hot, they are mostly used for negative meanings, and vice versa is true. The words that indicate to the meaning of cold and wet are, there's a shortage of water in the Arabian Peninsula, in the desert. So the cold and the wet, the concept of cold and wet are very much taken as positive senses. But if you reverse this, the Western Europe or European culture in general, they take hot and dry climate as a good news, but the cold and wet is not taken welcomed usually in most of the areas. So hence the different geographical terms acquire different shades of meanings in these specific cultures. Religious culture, with beliefs, deeds, perceptions, classifications, and influence of the religion on, of course, on the language and the culture. More religious and less religious people, more religious people, they have more religious terms used in their language, and the less religious people have less religious words in their uh, discourse. East and West, there is a huge difference between the Eastern culture and the Western culture in general. The Eastern culture is more rich in the religious cultural aspects, whereas the Western culture now has got rid of many religiously, uh, 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 based words and phrases, and hence we find that the Arabic and English cultures are different in these aspects as well. For the religious culture, we know we have certain words that express our belief. Take the example of Allah. This word, which is used for the ultimate entity, the creator, we use this word, and it has its implications. It's not a single word. It carries a cultural value, richness, and if we try to translate this word into other languages, we find a lot of difficulties, because the properties that have been embedded or that have been included in this belief, our belief, we the Muslims. And when we see that, if I translate into another language, let's say God, and when I see the details or properties of the God, I find that the cultural meanings or the religious cultural meaning have not been transferred from Arabic into English in this example. Even if you take the example of Khuda, for example, The example of Khuda is also a good example to analyze, where we know that the differences between the original word, which is Allah, and the translated word, which is Khuda, are too much, and the word Khuda cannot catch all the properties exist in the word of Allah. So there can be a lot of examples. So the next is the social culture. When we say the social culture, work and layer, social ideologies, political, administrative, artistic, economic, etc., systems and organizations, gestures and habits, attitudes of various society towards love, marriage, relations, decency, etc., and family. Just take the example of work and layer. The social culture, in the context of work and layer, is necessarily different in different societies. In our society, maybe we we don't go out during the weekends. We don't think that going out for the layer during the weekends is a good, because of the economic factors maybe, or some other factors as well. Maybe our social norm, maybe our social habits. In the end, it is our culture which dominates. So, but if you see the Western culture, these people during the weekdays they are so busy in their work, but the weekends they try to go out of their town, or at least from their home, and spend the weekends in a different way. The way we spend weekends is weekend maybe is full of things that we could not do during the weekdays, and so on. And take the examples of gestures and habits. In the example of gestures and habits, when we meet someone, we have the habit of shaking hand or hugging people. Depends, of course, the gender, and but in the Western culture, or even the Arab cultures, they have different habits and different gestures when they meet. Just this occasion meeting with friends, or with the intimates. So these are the example of social culture. And then the material culture is a comprehensive term that include everything: food, hair, clothes, houses, towns, means of transport, other objects used in daily life, technologies and advanced ways of living, everything, things that are around us, used by us, consumed by us, are included under this category, material culture. Linguistic culture is another good type of cultural aspects that should be taken care of in translating. Here we can mention three things: ideational, interpersonal, and textual. Ideational means the how people view, perceive, and express the external world. And ideational indicates to man to nature relationship. When the man sees the nature, perceives the nature, and how he or she perceives the nature, and then express about this nature or this external world. Interpersonal is between man and man, or man versus man, where we see the relationships and other. We use the words for that purpose. Textual is when a combination of A and B, and there can be a lot of examples for this. Literary forms. We write some stories, of course, then the stories contain mention of some natural things, how the writer has perceived those natural things, and also how the writer has depicted the relationship between different characters in this story or in that novel. And the writing style is also. Proverbs is another a good example which emerged out of these two, ideational and interpersonal things. The emergence of development and emergence and development of proverbs in a certain language is contributed by the ideational and interpersonal aspects of the linguistic culture. Sayings also, written and oral, everything that is here in the language. With this, I think we can move on to some of the examples of cultural impact on translating. And I would like you people, because I have very quickly gone through the theoretical aspects. So I would like you people to remember or keep in your mind what we have discussed right now in the theoretical aspects. This slide shows aspects of linguistic culture, singular and plural in English. Uh, we know that the singular and plural in English, there is only one singular and one plural. But singular and dual and plural in Arabic is totally different. We have a singular, then we have a dual, and then we have plural. So the difference here is, one difference is here, that we have a concept of plural for each word, not only nouns, rather verbs as well, past tense and the present future tense, both. So the singular plural difference in Arabic and English can also be discussed in the way that if I say the word kitab and I use the word haza kitab, from this is masculine. But if I say uh, Zujaja, so I should use hazihi. That is the masculine and feminine difference, muzakkar wa muannas. But this difference does not exist in English. Uh, Other example of the linguistic culture are the pronouns that are used in English and Arabic. In English, we have the pronoun you, and against you, we have five forms. For example, you is anta, and you is anti, you is antuma, you is antum, and you is antunna. And antuma, again, if you want to classify it more, antuma for masculine and antuma for feminine. Antuma lil muzakkar and antuma lil muannas. Likewise, you have ka, you have ki, you have kuma, again for masculine and feminine, and you have kum and kunna. So the linguistic culture, how the linguistic culture is showing us the difference between Arabic and English. Uh, there is another example, a plural pronoun for respect in Arabic. If we want to give some respect to the elders, to the respected people, we use the plural form and we say antum. And by antum, we don't mean plural, we mean a singular and one person, but we are just showing respect toward that person. But in English, you would say you. We say your excellency, but in Arabic we say ma'alikum. So think the word kum, which is basically a plural pronoun, but we use this kum in this context, in this situation of respect, and of course the an attitude, behavior of gratitude towards the this great person or respected person. I hope that this part of the linguistic culture is clear with these quick examples. Now we can take the example of other things that, see, take the example of a dragon. Dragon is a symbol of danger versus a god. In Chinese culture, a dragon is a symbol of a good thing. Dragon is a symbol of happiness, a symbol of all the good things that can come from. But dragon is a very dangerous symbol in other societies, in let's say in the Western societies, or in other, some Asian societies as well. And we know the denotative and connotative meanings like owl. The denotative and connotative, we have discussed these two terms, but remember, denotative means the dictionary meanings, and connotative mean the meanings that have been acquired within certain culture. So the denotative meaning of owl is no problem in all the language. Owl is owl. Nothing is wrong with this bird. But the connotative meanings, that the cultural meanings of owl are different. We in Urdu, we all know that we have different perception of the owl. But in the Western culture, owl is taken in a very positive way. Colors, they have also a different connotative meanings. Denotative meanings, no problem. Red is red, green is green, blue is blue, and so on. But what is the meaning, cultural meaning of red in our society? Usually, we see the red, and red is the sign of nature, danger. But the red in the Chinese culture is a sign of it is their color actually, happiness, celebration, and so on. How the camel is being perceived in the Arabian culture. The camel, the all the sayings and proverbs created for the camel, because they praise the camel, because the camel actually is the only means for traveling inside the desert, even in this 21st century. How the cow is taken part of the body as well. They have cultural connotative. Remember, we as the translators or students of translation studies, researchers of translation studies, we always put a line between denotative and connotative meanings. So, the parts of body are also uh, taken culturally in different cultures. The significance of the story of Ibrahim and Ismail in Muslim culture. We know our religious uh, origin actually is, as Quran suggests, is based on the teachings of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, and the story of Ibrahim and Ismail, where Ibrahim tried to sacrifice the his son, his beloved son Ismail, and then the whole story which has been mentioned in Quran. But in the Western culture, they have different perception of this story, and different stature. According to them, the significance of the story is different. The details of the story are also different among them. So you can see that the cultural aspects of all these things uh, are very important, as for if we want to translate words associated with these things from one language into another. Okay, now we can take some examples of words, or maybe some phrases, examples of impact on translating. And we have I think four examples from Arabic into English, and likewise we have four more examples from English into Arabic. We find the culture. We know the zakat. We the Muslims, it's very one of the basic obligations and the pillars of Islam is zakat. But as a translator, we should be very, very careful. In Urdu, we have, of course, the solution, because we have borrowed the word zakat in Urdu, or even in other Islamic languages like Persian, like Dari, like Turkish, like Indonesian, like Malaysian, Malaya, and other languages. So we don't have problem. But if we want to translate the word zakat into one of the Western languages, say English, we would be, thinking more about this. So zakat is a charity. Remember the basic definition of zakat in as for as one pillar of Islam, and purification of money is the literal meaning, or assets, or you do not translate it at all. You say charity, or you say purification of money and assets, which is the literal meaning of the word itself. This is the denotative meaning this word. Or you do not translate, you take the word as it is and you write it in the English letters zakat. Or maybe you translate it with the word alms, or you say zakat and then we explain it in the footnote, and contribution to poor and needy maybe within the bracket, or donation. No, these are probable suggestions that can be discussed for the translation of the word zakat. But I'm sure translating this is called religious culture. This word into one of the European languages needs a lot of hard work and thinking and the carefulness. These are just suggestions that you do not translate. You just borrow the word zakat and then give details in the footnote or in the within the bracket there in the main text, or in other translations annual text, or you say obligatory annual text. All these are efforts to decipher the cultural meanings, denotative no, connotative meaning, associative meaning, religious meanings of the word into the target language. And if you ask me, so I would say obligatory annual tax. If we want to go into the pure English word, maybe a little bit near, not completely near to the word. But in such cases I would suggest that the same term, because the religious culture is very strong, so the should not be translated, should be borrowed the same word, and then some explanation depending upon the length can be given within the bracket or in the footnote. Another example from Arabic into English is bilad ma baina an nahrain. Now, if we try to see each word of this phrase, we say bilad is countries, ma means what, that, baina means between, and naharain two rivers. So we can say countries between two rivers. This would be the denotative translation, or the denotative transfer of these words. So a country which exists between two rivers. This is the literal meanings. But what is the? This is by the way related to the geographical culture, type of geographical culture. A country which exists between two regions. Here only difference is the, instead of rivers we are using the word regions. But if we translate bilad ma bain an nahraini with one of with these phrases, I think this would not convey the meaning. Same, because there are cultural aspects included in this phrase bilad ma baina an nahrain, which of course emerged throughout the historical experiences of the Arabs with this region. So actually, Bilad Mabain and Nahraini is the Mesopotamia, the area which is called Iraq usually, and we know that the Iraq is situated between two rivers, is the Dijla and Frat. So the two rivers, passing through this geographical territory, they were called Bilad, Ma'man, and Nahrain. But if we want to translate this, I think we should avoid the literal translation, and we should try to go the word which conveys the meaning easily. Although if we try to reverse the translation, we find it very difficult. If I say how do you translate Iraq, I would say al Iraq, not ma bilad ma baina an nahraini. But anyways, Mesopotamia is almost equal to bilad ma baina an nahraini. Another example, hope this is the third example from Arabic into English. And this example is maqtu'un min shajaratin. Now, maqtu, the literal meaning is cut, and min stands here for from, and shajara is a tree. So we can say cut from a tree, cut from a tree. But this is the denotative meaning, plucked or cut from a tree. Or we can say separated part of something. Someone who does not have a known family. Now, this is the meaning, intended meaning in Arabic. If we use this maqtu' min shajara, this phrase, if we use this phrase for someone, we mean that that person's family is not known. His progeny is not known. Who is his father or who is his mother? and so on. So the point here is that the if we say مقطوع من الشجرة, we say cut from a tree, literal meaning give us a totally different sense. But the real sense or the denotative meaning of this cultural phrase is that the one who is without a known family. Okay, another, I hope the last one from Arabic into English is ضع أيديك بماء بارد. ضع أيديك بماء بارد. Again, you also try to translate this simple phrase, which means put. Da, put. Idea, hands. Ka, your hands. Bima, B stands here for in. Ma, water, and bar is cold. So put your hands in the cold water. Now this apparently looks fine. This translation looks good. That this is what apparently this phrase means. So let's see. Put your hands in the cold water. Do not invite difficult things. Maybe do always right things. But the real meaning is they don't worry. Relax, as we say, relax. So the da one, idea two, ka three, b four, ma five, and six words in the translation is don't worry, or even one word is relax. See, the six words, the properties of the cultural properties embedded in these six words have been translated into only one single word, that is relax, don't worry. And this kind of translational issues are sometimes become so complicated for the translator that he or she has to she has to be creative to find the proper and appropriate solution, translation solution for such things. Now with this we can now discuss the examples from English into Arabic. uh, we have this phrase is black hole in English, and you see the literal translation is also there. The black hole is the ثقب أسود. So ثقب أسود, aswad is black and ثقب is hole, is here in front of you. But what is the meaning of a black hole? A black hole is a region of space, basic meaning, a region of space having a gravitational field so intense that no matter or radiation can escape. It's a region in the ocean where anything that passes over the not in the ocean, I'm sorry, a black hole is in the space. So anything near to it is absorbed, is cannot escape, it is absorbed into it. It's a black hole, a place where many or lost items apparently disappear without trace. Now the denotative meanings is this. Now the connotative meaning, why this black hole, the phrase black hole is used. A black hole in financial accounts may lead to the disappearance of money. So the term used for black hole in English is for the cultural purposes. The cultural meaning of the black hole is that where we don't know where the resources are being lost or the resources disappear, and we don't know how these resources have been been misused or have been lost. So black hole of the financial accounts, or black hole of some other things. The Now, I mean, how do you translate this? Let's come back to the concept of black hole, which is Saqab Aswad. So for translating this into Arabic, we can think a lot of other ways how to translate black hole into Arabic. And we can say that the يعني الطرق التي تمتص الموارد الطرق التي تمتص الموارد. Well, this is one of the way of translating this term. الطرق, the ways التي, which تمتص, absorbs الموارد, resources. ولا نعرف أين تذهب, and we don't know where they go. We cannot trace them, we cannot find out them, how these resources have been lost. This is of course one suggestion. There could be the second suggestion is that you translate literally it, and then the translators use it excessively, or the other translators also accept this literal translation, and it is used excessively, and then of course it is accepted by the native speakers of that target language. The second example is black sheep, and is huruf aswad. Again, the same literal meanings, literal translation of this black sheep. And the black sheep is a member of a family or group, social group, who is regarded as a disgrace to it. A person who is causing disrespect for his or her family, or for his or her company, or for his or her social group, is called in English a black sheep. And we say Mr. So and so is proving to be a black sheep for the company, or for the family, or for this. Rest is good, but that person is fetching bad name to the family, to the business, to university, to the any institution. So how can we translate? You find it's an attempt how to translate this. You find black sheep in every group. تجد خروفا أسودا, literal translation في كل مجموعة, literal translation. تجد شخصا سيئا. Now one of the aspect has been taken from the black sheep. The person is not good, the person is notorious. في كل مجموعة واحدة يوجد خروف شخص في كل مجموعة. Of course there is a grammatical mistake. تجد شخصا سافلا في كل مجموعة. Now the concept is here is سافل. تجد شخص غير مكرم في كل مجموعة. All these are effort done by different translators, those who wanted to translate this black sheep into Arabic. But you know what? See this now. شخص شاذ بتصرفاته أو شخص تافه أو عديم القيمة. So so debate is here. If you see these huruf and aswad right from the literal translation till an attempt to extract the meanings of the source text into the target text is شخصا سيئا أو شخصا سافلا أو شخصا غير مكرم أو شخص شاذ بتصرفاته, the one who is who is unacceptable in a society because of his deeds and his action. شخص طافه, شخص, the person who has no respect in the society. And عديم القيمة is valueless person. What we are, the translator is is trying to manage the translation as for this black sheep is concerned. You people can also try your own translation and then discuss your translations with me when we meet after this lecture, inshallah, today. As another example, I think is third one is blank check. I think we all know that the blank check, even this is used in Urdu now. It has entered into at least Urdu, educated Urdu speaking people, they understand what does this mean, blank check. But this is denotative meaning. But what is the connotative meaning or the cultural meaning of the blank check is, which is sheik farig. Sheik is for check and blank is for farig. And what is blank check? Is a signed check on which the amount payable has not been specified. This is what denotative meaning. But what is the connotative meaning of this blank check? Is a complete freedom of action. I give you a blank check means you are free to do whatever you want. I give you a blank check. He gave me a blank check means I'm free to behave the way I think is suitable, good for me or for people around me. So now the denotative meaning or cultural meaning, the usage is different. Blank check. So if we say the sheik farig, I don't think this little translation can convey the meaning, uh, in the original phrase. Now, there is a sentence: I enclose in this letter a blank check to which I have affixed my signature. Of course, this is very clear that the writer is talking about a real check, that is the denotative, dictionary meaning of أنا ألحق هذا الخطاب شيكا فارغا خاليا وقعت عليه. But if I say the blank check is شيك مصدق على بياض، شيك على بياض الحرية في العمل. So if I want to translate the word blank check, and I will say, how do you translate blank check in this sentence? He gave me blank check to accomplish this this work. So we say هو أعطاني الحرية لإنجاز هذا العمل. Now how I am trying الحرية, the word blank check الحرية, أو I can say هو أعطاني الحرية الكاملة في لإنجاز هذا العمل. Now see الحرية الكاملة، أو أنا حر في هذا العمل، أو أنا أعطيته حرية كاملة في لإنجاز هذا العمل. Now see the blank check and the connotation in the original, in the source text, and then how it is being transferred and translated into the target text. But that is not the final. As I said in the previous example, you can try your own translation of this blank check and tell me when we meet, what is your translation, what is the suitable translation in your view, in your yes, in your opinion. The last, with this we can come to the last example, which is here, the big fish or big gun. Now this we use this big fish or big gun in English, and this is of course the literal translation. السمكة is fish, and البندقية and the big الكبيرة. So السمكة الكبيرة or البندقية الكبيرة, big fish or big gun. But what is that big fish and gun? An important or powerful person. If I say he is a big gun in this business, he is a big fish in this business, he is a big gun in the government, that means that person is so powerful. It is related to the authority and the power that enjoyed by that particular person whom we are talking, and we say big sheep. We say he is a big fish or he is a big gun. Now see the cultural meaning of this phrase big fish or big gun, and see how we can translate this into. The government just wanted to catch the big fish and they ignored everything in between. أرادت الحكومة أن تقبض على السمكة الكبيرة أو الشخصية. Suggestion, different suggestions. السمكة الكبير, of course the literal translation. الشخصية الرئيسية, an attempt to translate the meaning. شخصية ذات أهمية. شخصا قويا وأغفلت كل شيء في ذلك. So you can also try your own there's another suggestion here. صاحب سلطة أو أهمية في مؤسسة. We can say أرادت الحكومة أن تقبض على صاحب سلطة ذي أهمية وأغفلت كل شيء في ذلك. So we can combine, we can select some words from here, some there, and create our own phrase, a new phrase, to give the meaning that we think, that we understand from big fish or big gun. So the point in all these examples, which should be kept in mind, the point in all these examples mentioned in under Arabic into English and English into Arabic is one, that the the culture the culture impacts the translation. When we translate from one language into another, we are usually faced with the words laden with the cultural meanings, with the phrases full of cultural meanings, with the sentences full of cultural meaning, in all kinds of texts. It's not related to the literary text or the religious text, as we have seen five categories of culture that impact translation. There can be more categories. We have not mentioned the spiritual culture. we have not mentioned. We can also, the social culture can also be divided into many other cultures. Social cultures can also be, can have subcategories under the social culture. So the point here is that we try to understand that the impact of culture and translation is very huge, and hence it is very important for translation studies, for the students of translation and for the teachers of translation and for the practical translating activities. This is the main crux of the whole discussion that we have today here in this lecture. The next reading task is here. For the next reading task, I'm assigning two articles. Problems encountered in translating cultural expressions from Arabic into English. These two articles are very much associated with the topic that we have discussed today. And then the next is strategies for translating idioms from Arabic into English and vice versa. Uh, why I am combining, they apparently they look a little lengthy, number of pages is little too, it looks, but be brief, be focused. What we want to understand from these two articles is: one, problems. We want to identify the problems in a different way, in a detailed way rather. And also we want to know the strategies for translating idioms from Arabic into English and vice versa. In the first article, the examples are from Arabic into English only. In the second article, the examples are vice versa, both from between English and Arabic. So you are supposed to read these two articles. It's not that you read each and every word in this article, but it's a selective reading, and your focus is on two things, as I said: problems and strategies. Problems and strategies. So we want to know what are the probable problems faced by the translators while translating culturally born expressions, and what are the suggested strategies for translating idioms from Arabic into English and vice versa. With this lecture ends. Thank you very much for watching attentively, and see you inshallah after this lecture today. Take very good care of yourself, and goodbye, my dear students. See you after some time. Assalamu alaikum.